Finding Light has no interest in being the biggest role-playing game of the year. It's also not going to raise the bar for graphics, sound, and depth. In fact, developer Jonathan Keith has seemingly gone as far out of his way as possible to buck all of the modern trappings we've come to expect from the genre, and instead focus on the kind of role-playing games we used to get on the old black and white Game Boy. It's a simple, yet endearing adventure that certainly won't be for everybody, but I kinda love the throwback feel and the tight pacing. Finding Light wastes no time setting things up. You take control of Mari, a young girl who learns that her partner Abby has gone missing, and the rest of the small village hopes that she'll go and save the day. It won't take long before Mari runs into other heroic characters that all have experienced loss and heartbreak, leading them to band together to find the missing people and solve the mystery of Heaven's Door. This is the kind of role-playing game where you get most of the story and lore from just talking to townspeople between random battles. It's the kind of adventure where the map is small and the story beats are real close together. This game is not going to be accused of being a massive 50-hour epic, but rather tries to cover a lot of ground at a rapid pace. In that sense, it really does remind me of what Square was doing in those early Final Fantasy Legend games. It's just big enough to feel substantial, but never so ambitious that it oversteps the original vision. Now, if you've played an 8-bit RPG, then you're going to feel right at home in Finding Light. A lot of the game involves simply walking around and getting into random fights to level up. The battles are turn-based and allow you to choose between regular attacks and magic spells and a number of special skills. There's nothing fancy here because what you see is pretty much what you get. And that's something that I actually really liked. For as much as I dig modern RPGs, there's something about the simplicity of the old-school adventures that I can't help but love. With the exception of a few boss battles, the combat is quick and uncomplicated, and that's great. I also like how the game expands the map in different ways. We get a boat early in the game that goes a long way to confirm just how small this world is. But there's more than meets the eye here. Mari will fight through caves, into castles, underwater, and even into the sky. Finding Light hits all of the beats you want from this era of RPG, all without making it feel like the different locations are all shoehorned in. Unfortunately, Finding Light falls victim to a lot of the same problems that plagued many old RPGs. Getting into a random battle every few steps feels nostalgic and may bring back memories, but there's no question that it quickly grows tiresome. And this is especially true late in the game, when we're constantly seeing the same bad guys over and over. It also doesn't help that there's an insane difficulty spike with at least one of the bosses. These bits force us to spend way too much time grinding for levels, money, and items. This definitely feels like an old-school role-playing game in ways that are both good and bad. It's also worth noting that there are a bunch of bugs that need to be squashed. For example, there's a maze trail where it's possible to get stuck in the wall if you take the wrong turn. You can still open up the treasure chests and get into random fights, but getting out of the wall is impossible without restarting to a previous save. There's also a problem where the game freezes up in certain battles. I suppose the good news is that these are isolated instances, but that can cause a lot of trouble if you're not saving regularly. The truth is, the minor nitpicks don't matter all that much. This is one of those games where you probably already know if you want to play it based on the graphics. If what you see reminds you of the old school role-playing games you grew up with, then this is going to give you exactly the experience you want. If you're used to modern graphics and epic stories with tons of side quests, then Finding Light probably won't be for you. For what it is, this is a lot of fun and executed well. Finding Light won't be for everybody, but it works well as a love letter to a very specific era of role-playing games. Fans of early adventure games on the old black and white Game Boy will get a kick out of this brief but effective journey to rescue friends and slay demons. It's a little buggy and suffers from a lot of the same issues that plagued those early 8-bit RPGs, but the combat is fun in all the right ways and the pacing never lets up. If you long for the days of getting into random battles every few steps, then Finding Light is definitely for you. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. So here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite era of role-playing games? This is not as easy as you might think, because all of the eras are filled with great RPGs. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with in the comments below. In other news, I'll be back tomorrow with our first mailbag episode. I'm going to be reading through questions you've left in the comment section and trying to answer them. You'll want to tune in for that. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.